I didn't feel like saying anything clever today. Hey BookTube, it's Kim at Middle of the Book March, and today's video is a tag. This is the 7 Deadly Sins book tag. Now, I was tagged by Susan at Road Reads, who took the tag from Mariana's channel at Mariana Moss Books, who took the tag, who kind of turned it into a book tag from a Tarot Tube YouTube channel, and I think that's how the chain went. So I'm not really a tarot fan. I'm not a person that's into that. However, I did want to put my spin on the tag because it seemed like fun. And here we go. So the 7 Deadly Sins, this is an interesting concept because a lot of times people think it's a biblical concept, and it's more a religious concept because it doesn't really have a list of do's and don'ts about this in the Bible. But let me give you a little bit of background. The 7 deadly sins are considered the capital or cardinal sins in the Roman Catholic Church. And these are behaviors that are classified under this category if they give rise to or lead into other deadlier sins or bigger sins. So they are, I'm reading my notes, they are pride, greed, wrath, envy, lust, gluttony, and sloth. I'm going to tell you right now that I can totally relate to at least 5 of them. So let's get going and I'll give you my answers to these prompts. The first deadly sin is pride. And a book you love saying you read for the purpose of flexing or because it makes you sound smart. This one, Christian Theology by Millard J. Erickson. Look at, okay, for reference, here's a pen. It's half the thickness, the width of this Bic pen. This book, and it's a hardcover, and it's enormous, and it has, not including the index, appendix, all that kind of stuff, 1,253 pages. Now, granted, this was a book that I read over 3 semesters, so a year and a half. And this was Systematic Theology 1, Systematic Theology 2, and Systematic Theology 3. So yeah, that makes me feel pretty dang smart. The next 7 deadly sin, the second sin is greed, a book you wouldn't let anyone borrow. I have a couple. This one is Moby Dick by Herman Melville, and this is the Barnes & Noble paperback edition. This is all sun bleached. Now, this belonged to my mom, and I've had this on my channel in the past. She was not a very big reader, but one of her one of the books on her book bucket list, that makes way more sense, was Moby Dick. And so she had this copy in her apartment when she passed away, and it's one of the first things that I grabbed. So she was a big, like, James Patterson reader, and she liked reading thrillers and contemporary novels, but she had a couple of classics that she really wanted to get to, and this was one of them. And so I've never read it. Once I get around to reading Moby Dick, I'm going to read this particular copy. I almost never let anybody borrow my books. Never, ever. Not even the people that live in my house. Except my daughter decided she wanted to start reading classics. And I have inserted a picture here of the pile of books laying next to her bed, all over the floor, strewn all over the place.
Wait, you did what?
And that's why I don't let anybody take my books. That's my copy of Jane Eyre and my copy of Sense and Sensibility. All right, the third sin is wrath, a book you hate read or one that makes you angry when you think about it. Will come as no surprise to anybody, but one of my most hated books was 3 Women by Lisa Taddeo. I've got a whole video on it. I've linked it below. It was gross and stupid, very poorly written, very poorly done. awful stories. The context was awful. The marketing was misleading. It was an awful, awful book. The other one I almost hate as bad as that is Birdsong by Sebastian Fox. And again, I have a video on that one as well. I'm going to link both of those videos down below. Hate, hate, hate both of those books. And it's not often that I actually hate a book. Plenty I dislike and plenty I DNF. But this is like a white-hot hatred because I finished both of these books. So I have a right to say I hated both of them. Okay, the fourth one is Envy, a book you bought because you saw it on someone's channel. I would never have even found this book on my own, but this is Blanket Toss Under Midnight Sun by Paul Sequasis. And he is an indigenous author. He is of the Métis tribe, I believe. And this is his it's a photographic history of his mother's legacy. And it's in 2015, the writer and journalist Paul Sequasis found himself grappling with the devastating findings of Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission report about the Canadian residential school system. I reviewed this on my channel, and I wish I could remember the video that it was in, or else I would link it, but I'm not going to remember. I first saw this book on Sean the Book Maniac's channel, and it's gorgeous. It is so beautiful, the photos that he's included. And he actually went back into photographic archives and included a lot of those pictures as well. But in the book, he's writing the history of the people of his mother. And it's just absolutely beautiful. Look at those faces. Look at those smiling faces, the children of the Métis children. This is a beautiful book. It's an absolutely beautiful story. So well done. So much history, so many things to consider. But I would highly recommend this for anybody to go and find and pick this up. I actually bought this on Book Outlet. I don't remember how long ago, but it is absolutely worth your money and your time. Okay, the next sin is Lust. Cover by, a book you bought because it was pretty. Again, no surprise to anybody who's watched my channel, but this is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. And this is the UK version. Now look at how absolutely gorgeous. The gold foil, you can see that right there. Now it's interesting because there's an owl, and down here there's a rabbit. And it's not like they're really hidden too hard, but I thought it's really cool how that foil artwork is on the cover. But wait, there's more. These are the end papers, and this is the naked hardback. It's also printed in gold foil. It's just a gorgeous book, and I purposely bought the UK version because the American version is crap. It is ugly, and I'm gonna put a picture here. It's like you can't even compare. You can't compare between the two, and I gravitated towards the UK version and bought that one because it's way prettier. Okay, two more. Let's see, the eighth sin is Gluttony. A book you really didn't need, but purchased anyway. Who needs any of these books? I don't need any of these novels. It's not a matter of need, but when you get right down to it, did I need this one? Of course not, because I already have all of the complete novels of Jane Austen, but look what I bought. I bought this Penguin Classics Deluxe Edition, French flaps and deckled edges. I'm really so predictable. But this is a bind-up of her complete novels, and it's huge. It's the saving grace is it's floppy, but it's enormous, and it's got like, it has Lady Susan in there too. Yay. It's got over 1,200 pages. It's got 1,278 pages. I'm not going to be able to read this unless I sit at the table and leave it open like this the font is a great size. It's kind of compressed pretty much together, but this has all of Jane Austen's complete novels in it, and Lady Susan, which I absolutely loved. If you haven't read Lady Susan, Jane Austen's novella, it is hilarious, satirical, it is great. I loved it. But I already own all of Jane Austen's novels in the Barnes & Noble hardcover editions. I didn't need this at all. And ironically, I bought this at Barnes & Noble. Okay, the last one, Sloth. A genre you read when you don't feel like using your brain. Not because it's not smart, not because you know it so well, but because you know it so well, or feel completely at ease when reading it, that it doesn't require effort on your part. This was pretty easy. When I need a break, when my brain needs something refreshing and fun and entertaining, I almost always gravitate towards contemporary fiction and usually a contemporary romance. And I just finished Book Lovers by Emily Henry, and this is exactly the type of book I'm talking about. It was very clever, so much fun to read, very witty banter and dialogue back and forth. It's a romance, it's a happily ever after, and it's just a whole heck of a lot of fun. So after I read something like, I don't know, Blood Meridian, this is the kind of book I've read this one before that book, but this is the type of book that I kind of reach for. Because it's so refreshing and just fun, and yeah, I still used my brain, because there's nothing to say that a contemporary novel or a romance novel is going to be any less smart than any other type of novel, but it just makes you happy. It makes me smile, it made me giggle, and I just was glad to have read it. So that is the 7 Deadly Sins book tag. I'm not going to tag anybody. If this sounds like something you'd enjoy doing, please, by all means, do that. And mention me so I can see that you did the tag, and so I can go and take a look at your video and listen to your answers. That's it for me. Let me know what you thought about any of the books that I showed you today, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.